Alright, so today we're going to tie a fly that I like to call the swinging sparrow. Swinging sparrow is, the sparrow is usually a nymph pattern developed back a long time ago for trout and stuff like that. So the swinging sparrow is a lot like it. It's tied on a salmon hook, kind of that curved hook you're used to. It's the Tiemco 7989. So you'll see it's got two pheasant feathers on it from kind of separate areas. This one back here has little blue tips and isn't quite as mottled. I'll show you here in a little bit. And then the one up front is more mottled and it's a stiffer fiber, so it holds everything else out. In between here you've got a sonker strip that I put into a dubbing loop, and then you've got some crystal, or not crystal, ice dub, and then you've got just a diamond wrap up the middle there. So what we'll do is kind of go over the product. So to put this fly together, you need like a full pheasant cape. These feathers here are from kind of the base of the wings, but on the inside, and the other feathers I'm going to use are from like right in the middle of the back on a pheasant. I can show you the difference between the two of them here. So base of the wing and middle of the back. So kind of there's one fly that introduced me to like this little plume on the inside of that feather. There's going to be another little plume, and I've seen guys use that as down the middle of the back of like a hex nymph. So I've seen that used before. So sometimes you can keep some of this stuff. This fly itself is pretty integrated to being whatever it needs to be. It's a hex nymph, it's some other type of big nymph, could be a little crustacean. It's got that kind of broadness because of the eyes in there. So it could be just a small zippy little darter minnow or something like that. A little sculpin pattern. Really covers quite a few bases with one fly. And places like the Brule, sometimes only one fly is what you really have time to put a lot of faith in. If you're out there switching flies all the time, then you run into some issues with that. So what we're going to start with is the 7989. Get it in there, clamp it down. I'm using 50 denier this time. Just go ahead and get it started, and then tie it all the way back to just a little bit past the curve of the hook. Just get a good thread base on there, and then come back about a third of the way back towards the eye. This stuff is does not want to be cut by my scissors here. Alright, so about a third of the way back, and then you grab that feather that I said was from kind of the middle of the back. They've kind of got like a bluish tint to the top side of the curl here. What I do is I pick out about as long as I want the tail, and I pull it forward and just kind of preen it all down so it's like that. And then you're just gonna cut it so you got a little bit to tie in with. See there, I left myself a little bit of room there to tie in with. And I grab the stem of the feather, and I grab everything, bite your fingers just a little bit, and just roll them so that they don't lay out quite so broad. What we want is that little bit of a curve, because that'll help the fly kind of have a teeter-totter wobbling effect. Not so much teeter-totter, I guess. Go ahead and kind of figure out where we want to get it in there. I tie it in up at the stem so that way when I get back to the parts of the feather here, I can make sure that they're laying flat on the curve of the hook here, so that way they don't go all crazy on me, and that way my end product is just a little bit of a curve upright to that tail. And then come back forward 2/3 of the way. I go 2/3 of the way. I want to tie this diamond braid in, and I want it to be, the fly to be the same thickness all the way through. I don't want a little ball back here. So if I tied the diamond braid in right here and then wrapped over, it would be a little ball. So instead I'm going to do it up here, and then that way the whole thing has that same thickness. Hold it right on top of the hook. Go all the way back to your last wrap on that feather. And on these 7989s, they've got the separated eye, or I really don't know what the technical term is for that. I come all the way back up right to where the bottom of that little post coming back around meets up. Just stop your thread there. Wrap the diamond braid forward. Tie it off. Cut it off. So now you should have a tail and then that body material going down it. Right now too, I think another reason this fly works so well is just that, you know, like a woolly bugger would have chenille and stuff like that on there taking up that gap. And this is really keep letting the gap stay alive and free as long as I can here. So then from here you're gonna wrap your thread all the way up to the top of the eye. Just get that all real tight together, and then you're gonna come back maybe 2/3 of the way back this way on that loop around portion of the eye. And that's where you're gonna put in, I've got bead chain eyes, size 6 or 1/8 are the ones I got, and I got the ones from Lund's Fly Shop. They're nice. They have a nice wide separation between the beads. Some beads are a lot closer. These are pretty wide apart, which is nice. And I put them on the bottom of this fly. It's also really nice attaching those where that part of the eye comes back, because then there's a nice flat piece there to attach them to, so you don't have to spend a whole lot of time going nuts that they don't slip around. Alright, so we got our eyes on, got the body on. I'm going to make a dubbing loop here. Dubbing loop, what I do is I pull off about 6 inches, run my finger through the middle and come back up. So that way you're making a loop. You get a couple of wraps on your fly right next to where the thread is, and go around your loop twice, and then just get a couple more wraps on there to make sure it's not going anywhere. What that does is it makes your loop come down to, you know, basically no division, comes right together there. And then trusty OPST dubbing loop tool. You don't necessarily need this tool, but I highly recommend it. It's got a nice weight to it, really spins up nice. So on this fly, I use a golden brown ice dub as well as tan. I just pull off a small clump. I've got more here from earlier. Kind of part it once, so that way the fibers are about a 1/2 inch wide, because you're going to put them right in the middle here. Slide them right up. Same with the tan. Part them in the middle. Stick it in your loop. Slide right up. Everything should meet up like that. And this OPS tool is so nice, it just spins. Just hold it out away from the fly. So you can see like that there. And then with it out and away from the fly, you just give it, give it a good twist. Let her spin. Spin, spin, spin. Bobbin got in the way there, so I'll give it one more little one. I have the brush that I use on this is just a dowel with a piece of Velcro side, and then just wrap it around there real tight. You want to try to just build like a dubbing ball, but you still want this flash to go down the body too, to offer some flash or illusion of life on this fly, a little breathing and stuff like that. And the UV dubbing does such a good job of that. Tied off. Alright, so now we have a collar, or one of 3 collars that we're going to put on this guy to go around those eyes. So we got that one there. Next one, another dubbing loop. Hook it. We can let that guy hang. This next one is going to be zonker strip, but just the hair, so that it's about 1 inch in my fingers, and then cut it off of the rabbit strip. This next little bit here, it's a maneuver, I'm not gonna lie, and I wish I could show it to you better than I'm probably going to, but if I hold my fingers this way, I seem to be able to slide that, just the tips of that hair, the butt tips of that hair, into that dubbing loop. Pretty good. So this is what you should have when you get it in there. Now, holding the spinner,
Is something supposed to be in the oven?
not yet, out nice and evenly, and then kind of, if you can, kind of pull on the tips so that these are just barely sticking out. Again, it's not a huge deal. You don't want them in the middle, but that's as long as that flare can be. So if you stretch them back the other way a little bit, give them a spin. This is a nice little brush. With the, sometimes it helps to hit them with this guy a little bit, and kind of just help finish any of the spinning that was going on there before you try to wrap it. It turns into a big fuzzy mess on you. Get your fingers wet again. Peel everything back. Fingers gotta be pretty wet with rabbit hair to get it to all lay the way you want it to. You kind of pull pretty hard on it though to get it to crimp back. And then you just want to wrap. I try to do at least 1 wrap behind the eyes, and then figure out a good crossing point on the eyes. Finish up whatever I have done here in the zonker strip, but until you figure out how long your dubbing loop should be, it's kind of hard to justify. Three times around is about 1 inch of dubbing loop, so if you want to do, maybe that was 2 inches to 1.5 inches. But you want to be able to stay back just a little bit from the eye there, so you can still get that last feather on, because that's what's really going to stand and flare all this zonker that you just put on. So this one feather is I just grab the top here. I want to pick a little more than half an inch of these fibers that are going to stick out, kind of the more bristly ones, and I just want to lean them all back so that way I can cut the tip off without creating too much bulk to that little bit of the head that we got left here. So that should be, you know, your little heart should have that guy. And I just cut it off so you got something to tie on that still. And then the way this feather curves, it curves back like this, so you want to tie it in with that part, you know, following the curve of that fly, or that is a little tedious. Try to pull these back the best you can. You really got to stay on top of it kind of the whole time, really pulling those back. See, I got a few that got out of control here, but I should be able to wrap them back in this time. And then you just want to get a couple, if you can, you want to try to get a couple of those kind of more marabou-y type feathers in there before you tie moving or anything like that. That guy real close. Just kind of pull everything back and get a couple wraps on there so you can make sure everything's heading in the right direction before you're done. Cut it off nice and close. Definitely better super glues. I've got Zap-A-Gap, but I've only got the brush, so you kind of gotta hold everything back. Make sure you're only getting the thread, maybe just a little bit of the hook, but you don't want to get too much of this fiber because it'll suck this stuff right up, and then you'll have this weird wing, or it'll spin funny in the water. So there it is. The Sparrow, swinging Sparrow. It's a lot of the game with swinging flies sometimes, or like nymphing back in the day, was to downsize to bring out smaller patterns into nymphs. So this is kind of like the next step forward. It's a great little fly. Good luck out there. Have a good one.